Hello, friends, and welcome back to Unity Diaries. Thanks for your support. Today, we start a new episode of Sister Wives. Friends, stay with us. Let's start the first part of the episode. Let's go. In a sun-drenched moment captured on camera, the kind of golden light that transforms ordinary scenes into something almost artistic, Janelle Brown stands confidently at the center of a perfectly maintained lawn. The grass is vibrant, thick, and clearly well cared for, speaking volumes about the kind of lifestyle that comes with significant means. Her expression is one of pure joy. She tilts her head back in laughter, a glass of iced tea in hand, radiating a lightness and freedom that viewers haven't witnessed from her in many years of following her story. Gone is the weight of exhaustion and disappointment that marked so much of her public journey. This single image has sparked endless online discussions, not just because of her visible happiness, but because of what surrounds her: a sleek, elegant mid-century modern residence featuring expansive glass panels that let in natural light, warm wooden details, and a pristine driveway free of any clutter or outdated vehicles. There are no stacks of unsold merchandise or signs of disarray visible anywhere. Instead, the entire setting projects tranquility and stability. This peaceful vision stands in sharp contrast to the familiar outbursts associated with Kody Brown. Picture him, face flushed with intensity, raising his voice during one of those heated on-camera moments, veins prominent as he vents frustration into a camera or phone. Rumors swirling around Flagstaff are intensifying rapidly, painting a picture of a man who isn't merely upset but genuinely alarmed. The talk on the ground suggests Janelle hasn't simply found new housing through conventional means like renting or family assistance. Instead, reports indicate this property represents something far more significant: a substantial gift from someone who embodies qualities Kody lacks: financial security, a calm demeanor, and unwavering support for her well-being. This development strikes at the heart of what many perceive as Kody's need for dominance, because if Janelle now holds sole ownership of such a valuable asset, it undermines the control he once assumed he maintained over family resources and futures. The situation feels like the closing of one long chapter and the opening of a new, intense conflict. Before diving deeper into the details of this widely shared photograph and the enigmatic figure behind the gift, it's worth pausing to consider the broader implications. This isn't just about real estate or romance. It's a visible symbol of independence and transformation after years of shared struggles. Fans invested in stories of personal growth and empowerment are particularly drawn to moments like this, where someone reclaims agency after prolonged challenges. The recent developments have sent shockwaves through the community that has followed this family's ups and downs. For a long time, the prevailing view was that Janelle emerged from the separation with very little in terms of tangible assets. She had made significant sacrifices, including drawing from retirement savings to help cover others' obligations and contributing proceeds from previous property sales toward collective goals that never fully materialized. When she stepped away from the marriage, concerns ran high that she might face ongoing hardship without adequate support. Many recall the difficult images of her adapting to life in a temporary trailer setup, dealing with uneven ground, limited utilities, and harsh weather conditions, while others enjoyed more comfortable arrangements nearby. That contrast highlighted deep inequities that resonated with audiences. But recent insider accounts from the area suggest a major shift. Janelle has reportedly been building a connection with someone new over several months, and it appears to be a committed relationship rather than something fleeting. This individual is described as a private businessman based near Phoenix, someone who prioritizes discretion and avoids the spotlight that has defined much of her past experiences. What elevates this beyond a simple personal milestone is the nature of the support provided. According to circulating reports, he acquired the Flagstaff property outright and transferred the title solely into Janelle's name. No shared ownership structures or conditions tied to the arrangement, just a clear, independent asset for her future. In the context of their previous family structure, where resources were traditionally centralized under one primary figure, this kind of unconditional generosity challenges long-held dynamics. It represents a departure from expectations of loyalty tied to material dependence. Sources close to production circles mention that Kody has responded with strong statements, including potential legal actions, arguing that ongoing spiritual connections mean any new acquisitions should still fall under collective family claims. He has reportedly framed the situation in terms of divided commitments, but observers point out that this reaction stems more from a realization of lost influence than from genuine relational concerns. It marks a pivotal realization for someone accustomed to being the central authority. The person he once relied upon for stability is now forging ahead without needing his involvement. Examining the photograph more closely reveals layers of meaning in its details. The home itself is modest yet sophisticated, a single-story design emphasizing clean lines, functionality, and modern comfort. This stands out against larger, more ostentatious properties associated with other family members, which often appear overflowing with personal items, collections, and signs of ongoing accumulation. Janelle's new surroundings suggest order, openness, and intentional living, free from excess complication. The outdoor space reinforces this. Lush greenery, thoughtful plantings, and efficient irrigation contrast sharply with the undeveloped, challenging terrain of past family land efforts, where promises of gardens and homes lingered unfulfilled for years amid logistical hurdles and shifting priorities. That earlier plot of land in Coyote Pass became emblematic of stalled dreams and repeated disappointments. For an extended period, it served as a focal point for hopes of building a unified family compound, yet it remained largely untouched by construction progress despite extensive discussions, planning sessions, and financial inputs from various members. Janelle had invested personally, contributing significantly from prior assets, only to see those resources redirected toward other family needs while her own living situation stayed precarious. The symbolism of moving into a completed, welcoming home after enduring such delays carries profound emotional weight. It underscores that the barriers weren't solely practical, but reflected deeper priorities and willingness, or lack thereof, to follow through on commitments. Speculation about the man's identity continues to grow, though details remain limited out of respect for privacy. Those familiar with the whispers describe him as reserved, responsible with money, and unburdened by financial complications. He reportedly has adult children of his own and seeks a balanced partnership based on mutual respect rather than traditional hierarchies. One prominent theory suggests the timing of the gift, ahead of any formal ceremony, was driven by practical compassion rather than haste. Seeing Janelle in a transitional living phase, perhaps still navigating limited options after the trailer period, he chose to provide immediate stability so their connection could develop from a place of equality rather than survival pressures. This approach highlights thoughtful consideration, differing markedly from past patterns where symbols of commitment sometimes served more performative roles. Comparing gestures across time reveals interesting contrasts. Previous instances involved dramatic actions around meaningful objects, such as repurposing or discarding items tied to earlier unions, which emphasized endings. Here, the focus is on foundational security, providing a physical space for safety and daily life, rather than flashy displays. For someone like Janelle, known for her practical outlook and emphasis on long-term planning, this form of support aligns closely with what truly matters: reliability and independence. It speaks to building a solid foundation rather than temporary appearances. To fully appreciate the impact, revisiting the history of the family's relocation offers important context. After leaving established homes in Las Vegas, properties that many viewed as well-suited to individual needs, the group relocated with ambitious visions for a new chapter. Janelle had expressed reservations based on market conditions and financial realities, yet she participated in the move out of commitment to the larger vision. What followed were years of obstacles, issues with land usability, regulatory challenges, and deferred decisions that left the area largely as raw property. Her contributions, including inheritance and home sale profits, helped secure other family assets, such as more established housing for others, while she managed with temporary solutions. The trailer experiences, particularly during cold seasons, highlighted the physical and emotional toll, managing utilities in difficult conditions, facing isolation. and dealing with dismissive attitudes toward her efforts to conserve resources for collective benefit. Those memories make the new home's features even more meaningful. Reliable heating, spacious areas for family gatherings, and a kitchen suited for creating meals and hosting grandchildren. It represents closure on unkept promises and the embrace of self-directed stability. For Kody, whose public persona has long centered on guiding the family toward a shared ideal, this development disrupts that narrative. The idea that Janelle no longer waits for his involvement removes a key element of leverage he may have relied upon implicitly. No longer tethered to approvals or shared land prospects, she steps forward on her own terms, with documentation that excludes his influence entirely. This shift carries both practical and symbolic power, limiting his ability to affect her security or draw on associated resources. Reactions within the family circle have reportedly been complex. Accounts describe Kody reaching out to adult children first, employing familiar patterns of seeking alignment and expressing disappointment in strong terms. Yet the response from those who witnessed years of imbalance has been supportive of their mother's choices. This generational perspective adds another layer, as younger family members prioritize well-being over rigid adherence to past structures. The broader emotional fallout includes attempts to reframe the situation publicly, casting Janelle's new chapter in less favorable lights, but audience sentiment often draws from documented history of contributions and sacrifices, viewing her current path as earned and overdue. Financial and legal considerations further complicate matters. With newfound independence, Janelle gains stronger positioning for addressing past imbalances, potentially pursuing resolutions around shared investments and unfulfilled agreements. Experts following similar cases note that clear asset ownership can empower individuals to seek equitable outcomes without immediate survival pressures. This development doesn't just alter her daily life, it provides a foundation for longer-term advocacy if needed. Tensions extend to other relationships in the family network. For instance, the primary legal spouse may experience mixed feelings, given her own reliance on existing arrangements amid ongoing uncertainties. The contrast in circumstances could heighten existing strains, with concerns about shifting contributions and independence affecting household dynamics. Observers speculate on private conversations where frustrations are voiced, not purely from personal loss, but from systemic changes that challenge previous dependencies. Reconstructing key moments based on available leaks, the initial discovery seems to have occurred through public channels, triggering an immediate and intense response. Rather than measured dialogue, reports suggest a direct confrontation filled with familiar rhetorical patterns, appeals to shared history, accusations of disloyalty, and attempts to invoke traditional frameworks. Yet the outcome reportedly differed from past interactions, a calm acknowledgement followed by disengagement, signaling boundaries and emotional detachment. That simple act of ending the exchange symbolizes a profound change in power balance, where previous intimidation tactics lose their hold. This evolution didn't happen in isolation. Connections among the women, once strained by external influences, show signs of strengthening. Early steps taken by others to prioritize personal happiness created pathways for subsequent moves. Supportive roles in introductions or encouragement reflect growing solidarity, built on shared understandings of past challenges. Such alliances represent a significant departure from earlier divisions, focusing instead on mutual uplift and recognition of common experiences. As the story unfolds, attention turns to the internal pressures manifesting in heightened reactions. Psychological perspectives on situations involving eroded control describe patterns of intensified efforts to regain influence, sometimes through escalation or external validation seeking. In this case, the visible shift in Janelle's circumstances appears to accelerate such responses, leading to more public and private expressions of distress. Audiences following closely anticipate further developments, recognizing the human complexities at play amid evolving relationships. Continuing from these shifts, the narrative highlights deeper psychological dimensions at work. When long-standing patterns of authority face disruption, particularly for individuals who derive self-worth from managing others' circumstances, the resulting disorientation can be intense. In this instance, the sudden visibility of Janelle's autonomy challenges core assumptions about relational roles and resource distribution. What emerges is not simply disappointment, but a multifaceted reaction involving attempts to reassert claims through various channels, including appeals to shared spiritual or contractual understandings. Kody's reported stance, that spiritual bonds persist and thus limit independent decisions, draws on interpretive frameworks from their background. However, critics and observers note inconsistencies with prior actions, such as formal dissolutions of other unions or selective applications of principles. This selective emphasis appears aimed at preserving influence rather than upholding consistent values. For Janelle, known for her grounded approach and respect for personal convictions, navigating these arguments requires balancing faith with practical self-preservation. The gift's unconditional nature, focused on security rather than obligation, offers a counterpoint to dynamics where support often carried implicit expectations. Robyn's position adds another facet to the unfolding drama. As the central remaining partner, she has historically embodied a role requiring ongoing protection and resources. The emergence of Janelle's independent setup creates a stark comparison, one path marked by self-sufficiency and new partnership, the other tied to existing complexities and potential financial vulnerabilities. Speculation suggests this fuels private counsel that reinforces Kody's concerns, framing external developments as threats to collective stability. Yet at root, the anxiety may center on practical sustainability. Reduced contributions from independent members could strain remaining arrangements, especially given histories of resource allocation that favored certain households. The interplay of envy, adaptation, and self-preservation among the women reveals long-term effects of divided loyalties. Past strategies of maintaining separation to prevent unified perspectives have weakened over time. As individuals pursue separate paths, opportunities for reconnection based on empathy and shared history arise. Christine's earlier transition, characterized by openness to new possibilities and emphasis on personal fulfillment, served as an influential example. Her experiences with a supportive new partner likely informed quiet encouragement for others seeking similar peace. Theories about facilitating introductions stem from this pattern of sisterly solidarity, where knowledge of positive matches helps bridge difficult transitions. Mary's evolving stance contributes to this shifting landscape as well. Once positioned somewhat apart, recent indicators point toward potential common ground with Janelle, rooted in mutual recognition of past oversights and a desire for resolution. Such alignments, though nascent, carry potential to influence broader family outcomes, including resolutions around shared properties like Coyote Pass. The land itself remains a potent symbol, its undeveloped state representing unfulfilled potential and the costs of deferred decisions. Legal pathways for addressing contributions and expectations gain traction when one party no longer depends on delayed outcomes for basic needs. Reconstructing the pivotal phone exchange through available accounts illustrates the changed dynamics vividly. Upon encountering the image, an immediate call reportedly followed, laden with emotional intensity and broad accusations. References to family legacy, covenant responsibilities, and public perception filled the conversation. Yet instead of prolonged engagement or defensive justification, the response was measured and conclusive. A brief acknowledgement and termination of the call conveyed clarity and resolve. This boundary-setting moment resonates as empowering, demonstrating that prior tolerances for extended conflict have given way to prioritized peace. For someone accustomed to dominating discussions, encountering firm limits can feel profoundly destabilizing. Beyond immediate reactions, broader reflections on value and attraction emerge. Janelle's qualities, resilience, analytical thinking, dedication to family responsibilities position her as someone capable of drawing compatible connections based on equality and respect. The new relationship appears built on these foundations, with emphasis on actions that enhance stability rather than public displays. In contrast, critiques of past leadership highlight patterns of inconsistency, emotional volatility, and financial decisions that strained collective well-being. Audiences often reference documented sequences showing dedication versus outcomes, shaping perceptions of deserved transitions. Legal dimensions continue to draw interest from those tracking similar separations. Potential claims around implied trusts or contributions to family assets could surface, particularly where promises of future benefits influenced significant transfers. A secure personal base strengthens negotiating positions, allowing for sustained efforts toward equitable divisions without urgency-driven compromises. This leverage extends to decisions about the Flagstaff land, potentially prompting sales or redistributions that reflect actual inputs and needs more accurately. As developments progress, focus remains on the human elements, the relief of newfound comfort, the complexities of blended family reactions, and the ongoing navigation of public scrutiny. The home itself becomes more than shelter. It symbolizes reclaimed agency, a space for creating new memories with children and grandchildren free from previous constraints. Features like comfortable gathering areas and reliable amenities support the kind of everyday joys that were harder to access before. The wider community response reflects investment in themes of resilience and positive change. Supporters celebrate visible steps toward healing, sharing encouragement across platforms and discussing parallels with their own experiences of transition. While some voices defend traditional structures, many emphasize the importance of individual well-being and consent in evolving relationships. Looking ahead, uncertainties persist regarding formal responses, potential mediations, or further public statements. Yet the course shift appears enduring, a move from dependence to self-determination, supported by thoughtful partnership. This chapter underscores that personal growth often involves difficult reckonings with past choices and courageous steps into new possibilities. The contrast between past hardships and current stability offers powerful testimony to endurance and the potential for renewal when support aligns with genuine care. Further layers include considerations of public image management amid private turmoil. Attempts to portray recent changes negatively encounter pushback from those familiar with chronological events and contributions. The emphasis on pragmatism and forward momentum in Janelle's approach resonates as authentic, avoiding sensationalism in favor of quiet strength. Psychological analyses of control dynamics provide additional insight. Loss of influence over key figures can trigger intensified efforts to reclaim narrative dominance, sometimes through escalation or external alliances. In family systems with strong hierarchical elements, such disruptions test foundational assumptions, prompting reevaluation or defensive posturing. Observers note the bravery required to prioritize personal health amid such pressures, particularly when faith and history add emotional weight. Alliances among the former partners highlight adaptive strategies. By sharing insights and encouragement, they mitigate isolation that once reinforced dependency. Christine's established happiness serves as both inspiration and practical model, demonstrating compatibility with partners who value partnership over authority. Similar themes appear in emerging connections, focusing on security and mutual growth. The Coyote Pass saga, with its history of planning documents, financial commitments, and environmental challenges, fades in relevance as independent solutions take precedence. Its legacy persists in lessons about communication, follow-through, and realistic goal-setting within complex relationships. For those who invested heavily, closure comes through alternative paths rather than resolution on original terms. In summary, this period represents a multifaceted transition, emotional, financial, and relational. Janelle's story, as it unfolds, illustrates the power of supportive opportunities and inner resolve to reshape circumstances after prolonged uncertainty. The narrative continues to captivate because it touches on universal desires for safety, respect, and the freedom to define one's next chapter on personal terms. Future updates will likely reveal more about adaptations, legal steps, and family evolutions, but the foundational change in agency stands as a defining milestone. The end. First part is over. Thanks for watching. New part are coming very soon.